Reardon, you know, obviously was the first one. I thought he was God, and he was a great tactical player. Very well, 6-time champion of the world, that says it all.
Ray Reardon was my favourite player. I grew up watching him on the box. I watched him win his world titles.
Even when he's losing matches, he sort of has this smile on his face, you know, this sort of supercilious look about him, you know, how dare you beat me, but well done, you know, you've beaten the great grandmaster that I am, kind of thing. He had that look about him, you know. He was a fantastic character. When you see somebody like Ray Reardon winning the World Championships, or Doug Mountjoy, Terry Griffiths, doing so well as professional players for such a long period of time, it keeps the interest going in that sport, in that particular country. It gives you something to look up to, it gives you something to idolise. These were the great days, you know, because snooker had characters on the television in those days. It made the game popular for millions, not just people in Wales either.
Well, it was a huge turning point, obviously, because, you know, I was working up to 6 months earlier, and somehow or other I won the World Championships, and I think I was so pleased just to be there and get some television exposure that I could get some exhibitions to earn a living, because otherwise I had 2 children, I'd packed my job in. And I gave myself 3 years, you know, and I was lucky enough to win the World Championship the first time, and it just totally and utterly changed my life. I mean, I'd gone from Terry to Terry Griffiths. I was very well known in my area because I was like, you know, a postman and a bus conductor, an insurance agent, so I was amongst the public, so everybody knew me, and in a way it was a little embarrassing for me, but I mean, when I look back now, it's a lovely memory and all that.
I remember my mum and dad knocked on his door, you know, years ago, I think when I was 9 or 10, and just asked whether, you know, I could have a game with him, and, you know, he didn't have to say yes, and, you know, I think that's how, you know, obviously we first met, and, you know, he's been really good ever since.
The thing I liked about Doug, beautiful cueist and an immaculate dresser. I mean, he used to wear these fantastic suits with like satin lapels. I mean, they really did dress well in those days. And just a lovely cueist, you know. I mean, Ray was a fantastic player, but for me, one of the best cueists in the game was Doug, a beautiful, fluent cueist. I used to love watching Doug play.
I had a lot of respect for Doug's game. He was a great player. When he played against Henry, I thought, well, I had my doubts, because Henry was just, at that time, just awesome. And Doug sort of knocked him off the table, and it's a special moment, I think, in snooker, that.
It was a great performance, and I think in that match he made 3 consecutive century breaks as well in that final. He was playing fantastic snooker that would be fantastic in this particular era right now, as I speak. That standard of snooker that he played in that final would compete with any player of today, and that's, you know, really testament to how good a player Doug was.
When you've got heroes, it gives you something to drive on, and sometimes you think, well, if he could do it, you know, perhaps we could do it.
You've then had Mark Williams come along, Dominic Dale, Matthew Stevens and Ryan Day. Matthew and Mark obviously went through a period where they were competing to win most events, and it's like anything else, you know, their form has dipped over the last couple of years, and all of a sudden, as we've seen now in this tournament, they've come back with a vengeance, and they've been playing brilliant snooker. You go through different periods. You go through a winning period and you go through a losing period. When you're going through a winning period, it doesn't seem to matter how bad you play, something seems to happen as long as you put the work in to allow you to win. And it's the same then when you're going through a losing period. No matter how well you seem to play, something happens for you to lose the match.
I take my hat off to Mark, because a few years ago he was ranked, I think, about 40-something in the world, and he wanted to do something about it, and I think what he did, he decided to go down the club and do 8 or 10 hours a day. And I don't know anybody that would do that today except him. But, you know, he's won the China Masters last year, he's won the Berlin, the ranking event we had there, the German Masters, just a month ago. And I think it's a fantastic achievement. He's world number 2 and kicking at the heels of John Higgins. With Mark winning tournaments now, he's also a very natural player. he might bring along a lot of natural players who don't want to delve too much into the technical side and just want to play freely, as Mark appears to do, and try and match his success today.
Mark's former number 1 twice, and he's back to number 2 again. You know, Matthew Stevens is a former number 8, the same as Ryan Daysby in the top 8. So, you know, I think for the new generation, Welsh snooker is very strong. You know, there's loads of junior tournaments that go on every year. They play about 16 to 20 events, and every year we throw new names into the hat that are coming along that you think he's going to be a good one for the future. For me, being a Welshman and owning a club, the better the Welsh players do, the busier the club is.
I think the future is very strong for Welsh snooker in terms of people that we got coming through from the very young junior level through to the what they call the older junior level, which is 19 and 21s. I think it's the same as it's always been. There's players there that you think, well, he could be a good one in a few years, and we never seem short of those.
Right now, as things are, we're all having a good time, and there'll be times when we struggle, of course. That's just part of sport, but we've got the experience behind us now and the knowledge of the game to realise that and understand it, and we'll know that it'll turn around at some point, and it always does.